The system didn't give me a map. It gave me a treadmill. But the first person to show me how to run on it wasn't a villain. It was Mrs. Gable, my high school guidance counselor, with her floral scarf and a bowl of peppermint candies on her desk. I remember the way she smiled as she handed me a pen that felt surprisingly heavy. She didn't talk about debt. She talked about investment. She didn't talk about 30 years of interest. She talked about potential. At 18, I signed a contract I didn't understand for a degree I wasn't sure I wanted, all because I was told that the price of entry into the middle class was a mountain of debt I couldn't even visualize. I thought I was signing up for a career. I didn't realize I was signing a lease on my soul. I remember my first day in the corporate world. I wore a cheap polyester suit that chafed my neck and shoes that clicked too loudly on the polished marble floors of the lobby. I felt like an imposter in a world of giants. They sat us down in a room filled with the smell of stale coffee and orientation packets. They talked about company culture and benefits, but they never mentioned the math of the cage. They told us that if we worked hard and climbed the corporate ladder, we would find freedom. I spent my 20s looking at the heels of the person on the rung above me, survives on lukewarm pizza during crunch time, and the hollow validation of an exceeds expectations rating on my annual review. I thought I was a player in the game. I was wrong. I was the prize. My prime years were the currency they used to keep the stock price climbing. My creativity was the fuel they burned to power a machine that didn't even know my middle name. Here is the dark math they hide behind the middle-class dream. The 7% gap. I remember the year I got my first performance bonus. It was $2,000. I felt like I had won the lottery. I took my girlfriend to a steakhouse and felt like a king. My salary grew by 3% that year, and I felt promoted. But while I was celebrating, the cost of my life, the rent for my one-bedroom apartment in a noisy suburb, the eggs at the grocery store, the health insurance premiums, was growing by 10%. The numbers on my direct deposit were getting larger, but my actual power in the world was shrinking. I wasn't getting richer. I was just running faster on a machine that was moving backward. While I was sweating over a 40-slide PowerPoint presentation at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday, the system was busy devaluing the very hours of my life I had already traded for dollars. Every time the government adds a zero to the balance sheet, they are effectively reaching into your past and stealing the sweat from your brow. It's like trying to fill a swimming pool with a teaspoon while the sun evaporates the water faster than you can pour. You are working for a ghost that grows fatter the more you starve. The survivor in my office, a guy named Pete who drove a 2012 Honda Civic and brought tuna sandwiches in a brown paper bag, knew the secret. We used to joke about his boring life. We didn't realize Pete was the only free man among us. He didn't save cash. He understood that cash is a melting ice cube. He watched as we traded our lives for paper that lost its value before we could even spend it. He bought sovereignty while we bought status. He understood that the game is rigged at the level of the currency itself. The longer you hold their paper, the more of your life disappears into the pockets of the people who own the ink. I spent my youth being the perfect performer. I thought success was a checklist of possessions. The German car lease, the house with the HOA fees, the premium gym membership I was too tired to ever use. I thought the more I owned, the safer I would be. I didn't realize that every upgrade was actually a reinforcement of my cage. Each new subscription was a new bolt in the bars. Each monthly payment was a new lock. The system doesn't want you to be poor. Poverty breeds desperation, and desperate people are unpredictable. No, it wants you to be comfortably numb. It wants you to have just enough to lose. It wants you to be so buried in standard of living that you're too terrified to ever walk away from a job that makes you want to scream into your pillow at 3 a.m. When you have a 30-year mortgage and a car payment that demands your constant presence at a desk, you aren't an employee anymore. You are a hostage with a 401k. They turned time into a currency and then devalued it. They turned your dreams into debt and then called it leverage. The system is a casino where the lights never dim and the exits are hidden behind shimmering advertisements for the next big thing. They don't want your collapse. They want your consistency. They want 40 years of your prime energy in exchange for a retirement you'll be too tired to enjoy. They want the juice. You can keep the rind. This isn't a story about money. It's a story about time. The greatest trick the system ever pulled was making you believe that your time has a fixed price tag, that an hour of your soul is worth a piece of paper they can print at will. Most people spend their lives protecting their cage, thinking it's their castle. They spend their weekends cleaning the bars and their evenings decorating the walls, forgotten that the door was never locked. It was just heavy, and they were too tired to push. And by the time they realize the difference between a career and a sentence, it's already too late. The treadmill stops, the office lights flicker out, and you realize you haven't moved an inch. You were never a player. You were just the fuel. And the system is already interviewing someone younger and hungrier to take your place on the machine.